We're having a little conflict with noise from the table at the back. Darren and company, try to keep the conversation at a low level while you're doing your registration. Thank you very much. Right. Now, your moderator for the evening is the most honorable Wilshire, known to you and the rest of the country and perhaps the rest of the world as Red Plastic Bag, or as he always corrects me, the bag. Your three MPs for the evening are here as well. Dr. Brown, Mr. a moment of age, Mr. Weir, and of course, Ms. McConney. Now, the Attorney General is sitting also up front, and as the evening progresses, a number of other members of Cabinet will join us. I hope I've not missed any member of Cabinet. Now, just want to make sure we get this right. From about 2 this afternoon, Prime Minister has been chairing a meeting relating to the planning of the official funeral for the Right Excellent Sir Garfield Sobers. So she is still at Ilara Court at this moment, and her team will alert me once she is on the road and on her way here. So I think you can also gather that it would be most inappropriate this evening if we started this event without a moment of tribute, a moment of respect at the passing of Sir Gary. So could we please do that now? Would you please hold everything and let's stand for a moment? Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. So, while the registration process goes on, and as we prepare to hand over to our guest moderator for the evening, I'll ask the team at the back, the technical team, to show us 2 short videos relating to the life and achievements of Sir Gary.
My fellow Barbadians, friends of Barbados and lovers of cricket in every corner of the world, this is a solemn hour for our nation. It is with profound sadness that I now advise the people of Barbados, the region, and the wider cricketing world of the passing of the Right Excellent Sir Garfield St. Albans Sobers, our beloved Sir Gary. Across Barbados and across the world, we hold him with gratitude, with reverence, and with the tender sorrow that comes when a people have to say farewell to one of their greatest sons. Sir Garfield St. Albans Sobers, our Sir Gary, did not begin life among privilege or parade. He began in Walcott Avenue, Baylan, a boy of Barbados, shaped by family, community, loss, discipline, and faith. He traveled from Baylan to Kensington, from Kensington to Sabina Park, and onto the world stage, carrying his country, Barbados, carrying the West Indies, and carrying the Caribbean as a whole with distinction. Long before people spoke about the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the mighty Sparrow settled the debate in song. He asked, who is the greatest cricketer on Earth or Mars? Anyone can tell you it is the great Sir Garfield Sobers. Sir Gary is remembered as the greatest cricketer, the greatest all-rounder the world has ever seen. Not simply because of his records, but because he became the standard by which greatness would forever be measured. We remember the image of Sir Gary kneeling less than a mile from where he was born to receive his knighthood from Queen Elizabeth, knowing full well that his people had already crowned him in their hearts. For many years, Sir Gary was our only living national hero, though the world had already recognized him long before we in Barbados made it official. There is a story from Swansea in 1968 that still feels larger than sport. On the fifth ball of that immortal over, Roger Davis held the catch. Then the momentum carried him beyond the rope. The boundary itself could not contain Sir Gary. That was his life. Every innings, however great, must at some point come to a close. The finest innings do not end in silence. They end with a whole ground rising and with a grateful people saying, thank you, and yes, we love you. I had the opportunity to speak to his children, and I therefore publicly now say that on behalf of the government and people of Barbados, I extend my deepest condolences to them, to Matthew, to Daniel, to Genevieve, and to his stepchildren Stuart and Tricia, children of Sir Gary's long-standing partner Jackie White, who predeceased him. To his grandchildren, we say we are so sorry, especially Gabriel, who lived with him. I also extend our condolences to his former wife, the mother of his children, Prue, and to his younger brother, Cecil, who we all know as Saul, and to his wider family and loved ones, friends, cricket lovers, cricketers, admirers across Barbados, the Caribbean, and the world. The government of Barbados has declared today, July 17th, a day of national mourning. There will also be a day of national mourning on the day of the internment of Sir Garfield Sobers. On these 2 days, there will be no official functions. The flag will be immediately flown at half-staff and will remain so until the interment of Sir Gary. Further information regarding the place and date of the state funeral and all other arrangements will be provided by Senator Lisa Cummins, who has been given the responsibility of coordinating the funeral with Cabinet Office and the Barbados Defence Force. Sir Gary, Barbados stands for you. The West Indies stands for you. The world stands for you. For an innings that was so well played, Sir Gary. So well played. We will always love you.
He was cricket's favourite cricketer. Sir Garfield Sobers, one of the greatest to have played the game, has passed away aged 89 at his home in Barbados. The West Indies icon is widely regarded as the game's best all-rounder, who inspired a generation in the Caribbean and the cricketing world.
Batsman, bowler, gentleman.
He knew how great he was, but he never told anyone.
Loved life, loved sport, loved cricket.
The ultimate all-rounder, mastering all three arts of the game.
Could beat you anywhere. He could win you a game with bat, ball, or in the field.
Born in Barbados, he made his West Indies debut aged just 17. He played 93 tests, averaging almost 58 with the bat and 34 with the ball. Sobers transcended the often fractured national boundaries of the Caribbean island states. West Indies cricket releasing a statement. A great innings has come to an end. In our hearts, now and forever. He paved the way for what would become the Windies' dominant era.
And then you have to have something that you can look back on and say, okay, these people did this, let me see if I can carry on the story.
Sobers is carved into the very history of the game. He was the first man recorded to hit 6 sixes in an over, playing for Nottinghamshire in 1968.
6 on the trot.
Was by Lord Constantine, who said if you hit the ball in the air, there's no feelers up there. But
here in 2001, speaking with Richie Benno at the Allen Border Medal.
I didn't know we played so long together, Richie, since 1955.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
I know.
But
including in arguably cricket's most iconic match, scoring a century against Benno's Australians in the tied test of 1960.
It's a long time since Benno has been punished like this.
And I don't think that there'll ever be another test series in the history of cricket that was like that series.
Gary, thank you very much. It's wonderful to see you here.
And you know you're pretty good when you're one of Sir Donald Bradman's favourites.
By the greatest all-round cricketer who ever lived. I hope that it will prove an inspiration not only for today, but for generations yet unborn.
A guy who would have thrived today. T20 cricket would have been right up his alley.
Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
Thank you. And with that, I will hand you over to the greatest cricketer St. Philip has known, the red plastic bag.
Hardly. I played a bit, but not good. Good evening to members of government, members of the public service who are here. Welcome to the beautiful parish of St. Philip. We've had St. George and St. Peter, and it's getting more and more exciting. I expect this evening to be one exciting evening of ideas. We criticize a lot, and I will know about criticizing government in song. But I think that we also need to bring solutions, bring ideas, and this is an opportunity for the public to speak. And you know, the reality is that you, the people, you are the country's greatest resource. A forum like this is really tapping into this resource. And we expect you this evening to come and bring your wonderful ideas so that we can help shape the future of Barbados. Remember the parable of the mustard seed? Smallest seed, and grow a very big tree for birds to perch on. So your idea you may think your idea is small, but it can grow into something big. So, with that said, we are going to start the forum this evening, and just want to say to you that in the interest of time, I expect you to keep it very concise and clear because we need to get out of here by a certain time. First person up this evening is Betty Lynn Eswick. Betty Lynn Eswick.
Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
I just want to start by saying thanks for the organizers of this event because it gives other persons an opportunity to share ideas about what is happening in the country. Right now, the increase in crime in Barbados is on the lips of every Barbadian. And I think that there are some things that I will suggest that we need to look at. I have a teaching background, and back in 1983, I spent 6 weeks working at a school, my second teaching practice. In my class, I had a child who, at that time, was doing no work. And when I spoke with the class teacher, she said that child had recently witnessed her father kill her mother. The father killed the mother while the mother was taking the children to school. As a result, that child, in her mind, determined that before she dies, she would kill somebody. And eventually, she served time in prison for murder as well. I think we need to look at the background of some of the people who are committing murder right now. I think we need to put a program in place. In fact, I believe that every school should have a counselor, not someone who is visiting 1 day per week or a few hours per week, but I believe that every school should have a permanent counselor. And the children of these murder victims, the troubled children, the ones who are abused by adults, should be followed by the counselor and should be given the support that would be necessary. If every person out there who commits murder now has the same thinking of that girl back then, you know the problems that we will continue to have. So I think it is worth looking at. It is not too late, and don't just let us say, yes, it's a good idea, and do nothing about it. Secondly, I think we are talking a lot about, well, not a lot, because I haven't heard a lot about it recently. We talk about giving every child free breakfast from September, I think that's a joke. I believe the teachers are the ones who know the needy children. There are currently breakfast programs in place, maybe not in every school, but I believe that we should support the breakfast programs that are there already, because the teachers are the ones who know the needy children, not the politicians. Politicians may hear of needy children when they're out there campaigning, but the teachers who meet them day to day, who sit down in front of them day to day, are the ones who know who the needy children are. The extra money, I think you should support the breakfast programs that are in place, improve on them, and take the extra money and spend it on the schools, making the environment more comfortable for the children and the teachers. All right. We go to roads. I've lived in St. Philip all my life. My roots are in Ebenezer. I go to Ebenezer about 5 days per week. When I go to Ebenezer and I'm about to leave, I don't know if I should turn right or if I should turn left. If I turn left, I'm going into Ebenezer, tons of potholes, soon becoming wells. When do we see the MP? You have the answer. If I turn right, I come to Carrington, and depending on the time of day, especially, I can crawl from Brayton to 6 Rose. We need to look at that as well. There's a road in Marchfield from Armagh to Sunbury that is horrible. So if you care for your vehicle, you will not attempt turning off to go on that road. There's a road from Train Road, which I believe can be developed, and you can work on that road from Train Road to 4 Square, which will give people another option to bypass 6 Rose. And if I move closer home to where I live in Mangrove, 88. I don't know if the MP knows the road that is called Mangrove Yard Gap. People believe I live in a cart road, and I don't think that I deserve to be living in a cart road. I think my road deserves some treatment, just like all the other roads out there. So Mangrove Yard Gap, we've reached out to the workers at 6 Rose, MTW, nothing has happened. We need a water main in that gap. I wrote to Barbados Water Authority about 20 years ago. A supervisor came, wasted my time, driving up and down the gap, a lot of pretty talk, nothing has happened. I think it's time that we get some action. All right, we talk about tourism being our business, and we say, let's play our part. Are we really playing our part? I live in St. Philip, and recently I attended a function on the grounds of the St. Philip Lighthouse. I attended the event last year, July as well. I think the lighthouse needs urgent attention, place of interest, not some place that I would feel proud taking visitors, because I think it's looking rusty and old, and some work needs to be done. Back in 2010, I know the parish ambassadors made a suggestion asking for the lighthouse to be refurbished. This is 2026, nothing has happened. What do we do with the ideas when we get them? Put them in a file, push them in the drawer. Nothing happens. It's about time that we pull out the files or not put them in the file, not put them in the cabinet, and start giving us some action. So for the lighthouse, I think we can refurbish the lighthouse, create a safe space, because people at my age, well, I can say for myself, everything happens at botanical gardens. I am not interested in botanical gardens. I want a safe space for people, my friends in my age group. We can go to the lighthouse, we can sit down in the park, create it as a park, put park benches, make it comfortable, and we can stay in St. Philip while all the other people go to botanical gardens. I don't want to be downtown, and I have to be looking back to see if a man is going to run with a gun, and I have to run and fall down. Leave me in St. Philip. Yes. And while we are in St. Philip, I think we should, with all the activity that is going on all of the activity that's going on here in 6 Roads. If you drive up and down, you will see all of the work that is going on and developing 6 Roads. I believe that it's time we name 6 Roads as our 5th town. Right? Yeah. Put the ideas out there, have a competition, let persons make recommendations for the name, and I would suggest that we keep 6 Roads as part of the name, whatever it is. But we have a lot of activity going on here, so we don't need to go downtown that often. Leave us alone in St. Philip. Bring back Parks and Beaches Commission. Give them some work to do and tell them that they shouldn't be going back home at 9 o'clock. Stay at work and make the parks look good. Make the people comfortable. Make it an honor for me to bring my friends from overseas and say, let's go and visit some places of interest. About 2 years ago, I wanted to organize a bus ride for seniors, and I decided that I would leave home and I would go on the road which I had in mind. I went to Mount Hillaby. I was the most upset and disappointed person on earth. I hadn't gone there for a long time. Roads falling away. And when I got to the top, the bush was something else. While I was there, I took a friend with me. While I was there, a gentleman walked up, and it was like, oh my gosh, I hope he ain't coming to rob us. We need to look at these things. How do we feel comfortable telling visitors, these are our places of interest, and then we don't take care of them? If tourism is our business, let us take it serious and let us really play our part. If you bring back Parks and Beaches and you give them good supervisors, let them see that you're serious, they can have responsibility for looking after these places and keeping them looking the way they should look. Morgan Lewis is another one. I visited Morgan Lewis last year. Why can't we refurbish Morgan Lewis? In Antigua, there's a mill there that is spinning. Why isn't ours spinning? $100,000, $200,000? What is that? And we have money to do so many other things. I think we should really look and pay attention to places of interest in this country. Everybody who went here in the last 10 years went to Harrison Cave, they went to all the other popular places. Give them some other places that make sense right now. And finally, I think a lot of young persons are being sent to Dawes. When you pass on that road, you see the high fence and a lot of land space outside of the building. I believe the prison should be self-sufficient when it comes to food. All of that land that we're seeing should be garden beds, and they should be growing all the vegetables and the fruits and having all the animals to supply themselves with food in prison. I'm sure that some of them wouldn't want to go back because they don't like working in the sun. Think about it. And again, thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eswick. Not English. All right, we will give the ministers a chance to respond to her, but not to the speakers, but not after each speaker, so that we keep the presentations rolling.
Yeah, there's a lot to chew on there. The next person up, thank you for your contribution, Ms. Eswick. Scarlett Jones.
Good evening. I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous because the crowd makes me a little nervous. But I'm the president of the Long Bay Community 5K race, 20 years. And sports is one of the things that brought me out as a gold, silver, bronze in boxing, representing Princess Margaret, the school in Green Hatch. So after I finished school, the first marathon that came to Barbados, I've been running marathons from that time to now. So I'm running all the races and part of the sports in Barbados. And I would like to see the youngsters in the community take that road. So I tried doing the race to bring them out. But some of the things I love to see in my community is, one of the things I love to see in my community is the community centers with the community centers with youth groups from the churches, all the churches, to have community groups where the youngsters can come and do community thing. I'm not a good speaker, but I'm just speaking on my little bit. Another thing I like to see in the community is like having the bus stops, the bus sheds. I find the rainfall and people have to move. I think I'd like to see some sheds at the bus stops. Some of the things in the country of Barbados I love to see is, I'm concerned about, is the tires off the vehicles that is going into the dump. And one of the things I'm worried about too is all those cars that enter the mechanic shops. That is their dialect and so on, rat rodents and stuff like that. I'm concerned about if the rain falls and the dump where the vehicles goes and the rain go through and the chemicals from the vehicle goes into the water system. I'm looking at that could be very dangerous too also. Agriculture. I would love to see all the land that gone back into these hardwood trees return back to sugarcane. I would love to see sugarcane industry return back to Barbados. We have what we call the best cotton in the world. What about the best cotton that we have? We don't produce that. We can also cut back on import by encouraging the farmers to do a lot more production for import and so on. Tourism is, I think the prices of tourism are a bit high. If you could drop the price and encourage more people to come into Barbados, they only could spend a week when they could come spend 2 or 3 weeks. Crime. Well, I don't want to speak about that one because that's dangerous. But I would love to see the youngsters coming up in the youth group and all right, the King George Park and over there by Bailey School and other places that we can bring the road tennis and introduce more like dominoes for the youngsters to keep the youngsters occupied. And I was speaking about the youth groups at the churches, encourage youth group to come, the youngsters to come on in. And that's basically what I would like to say. And I also like to see a little bit more input in my race so that the youth can come out. Because it's not only about me, it's about bringing out the youth. It's encouraging the youth to come on out in sports, get active, do some jogging, do something, come on out in sports. That's why I'm here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, sir, for your contribution. Next person up, let me make sure I get this name correct. Margaret Stobinski.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for having me here. My name is Mark Stobinski. I'm a new gastroenterologist on the island, and I would like to introduce myself. Thank you for the very warm welcome. We've just moved here to the beautiful parish of St. Philip, and I was thinking how I can repay for the warm welcome and a beautiful hospitality we experience in Barbados. And I started looking for prophylactic programs, and I cannot find any in Barbados. So I'll be like a biggest advocate for a colorectal cancer screening program in Barbados. There is not such thing. I'll be working in a Bayview Hospital and Dr. Connell's clinic, and I believe it is a quite important initiative because it's like a global trend that colon cancer does not only take our relatives in the senior age, but if I personally found the cancer in a 40-year-old gentleman, fit and healthy, I had my concerns that we need to do something before the cancer spread and it will be too late for treatment. So cancers are in general are found really in late stage. So that the principles of colorectal screening cancer will be found in the early stage, like a polyps, we can remove it in 15 minutes. It's not a big deal. And to prevent building the cancers and the spread metastases in the wrong body. And I'm more than happy to participate, and I'm more than happy to take an active part in this program, of course, if you allowed me to do this. And again, thank you for your hospitality and warm welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Stubinsky. We'll make special note of that. Yeah, I think that one presentation now.
Yes. Selwyn, let's do the first presentation on screen. We're going to have a video presentation from one St. Philip person who could not make it this evening.
Well, actually, I think he did.
Hi, I'm Carl Podmore, a resident of Marchfield here in the parish of St. Philip. I'm happy that we've had our chance now here at the Ideas Forum. There's some things that are bothering me, and then there's some ideas I have. The main thing that's bothering me is some road repairs that's needed. I'm over 50, and for as long as I've been living in Marchfield, which is all my life, Marchfield Village Road has been untouched in terms of major paving. You would have a patch here and there, but anytime there's heavy rain, we would always find difficulty sometimes in passing that road. And by Marchfield Village Road, I'm speaking about the gap opposite Train Road that goes across to the Church of Christ Church, leading out to the Forecross, then going on to the upper part of Marchfield Village Road, which people call Suckhole, going by the former Attorney General's house, geographic, coming around by Zion Pentecostal Church and heading out to the market. That entire stretch is in serious need of road repair. So that's a major concern for me here at the forum. Some ideas. We are here at the Princess Margaret School. Years ago, there was a group called Prim Carter, which was directed and founded by Osbert McLean, an outstanding writer, theatre practitioner who taught here at the school. Madam Prime Minister, I am urging you and the other members of Cabinet to seriously consider creating a proscenium arch right in the school hall by the stage and renaming it the Osbert McLean Performance Space. If you go throughout St. Philip, those who would have been in theatre from the 60s, 70s, and 80s would know of him. The Conquerors comedians came through him. Philip St. Hill, the former protocols officer, he worked with the Consul General's office in the US, and I think he had a stint in Cuba and Venezuela. He came through that. Osbert McLean would have started programs in St. John and St. George as well. And he grew up right there in Four Rose. I would really like some consideration to that. The story of Six Rose must be told, and those builders of Marchfield, Six Rose, are moving on. And I think that we need to find a way to capture that story of Six Rose. There was a time we had 2 gas stations here. There was a time a Barclays Bank was here, ma'am. But who are telling these stories and the contribution that Six Rose has made to the whole development of St. Philip? I would like some consideration to those following things. Thank you most kindly, Madam Prime Minister, and thank you, Chairman, the Most Honourable Stetson Wiltshire.
Thank you, Mr. Padmore. As St. Philip man repping St. Philip big, always. Actually, there's a road that leads, when you come up from Carrington, sometimes on evenings coming to Six Rose, the traffic gets very heavy. And there's a road that can lead you from that main road all the way across to Sunbury. If that road can be fixed, sometimes on evenings, people who are going beyond Six Rose can actually take that road and it can ease the traffic. So that's a road in St. Philip that we can look at as well. Well, we're going to move on. Thank you, Mr. Padmore. Next up is Andrea Drayton.
Good evening, everyone. My contribution is regarding street lighting from the Sky Mall Road coming all the way up to 6 Rose. There are certain areas of that road that does not have any street lighting, especially where there is no housing. And I find it's very difficult to travel on that road because of not having any street lighting. Most of the time I have to go to the airport road to come home. And it would really be very helpful if we can have some kind of lighting on that stretch from Sky Mall all the way up to 6 Rose. My observation of the roundabout here, the Crawford roundabout in 6 Rose, is that whenever the rain falls, even if it is a light shower, we get water settling around the roundabout, and it causes motorists to have to be on the left side of the roundabout only. So linking in with the others who spoke about roads, I would like to suggest that if the farm road could be repaved, that also would help the congestion at 6 Rose, where you find a lot of traffic is heavy coming into 6 Rose from Congo Road. And if that farm road is well paved, right now it is horrible to drive on that road. So I'm thinking if farm road could be paved, it would help with the amount of traffic that is coming into 6 Rose via Congo Road, so that persons can also come into 6 Rose from the farm road, from the diversion of over by Bishop. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, Ms. Drayton. And given the number of comments we've had so far in relation to MTW, we'll let the technocrats from MTW do an intervention at this time. And also, while I have the mic, please let me take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Peter Thompson, the new CEO of the Barbados Water Authority, to his first Ideas Forum. Depending on which parish you're in, Ideas Forum can be a tough one for the CEO of the Water Authority, but I think St. Philip will be easy on you tonight.
Thank you. Good evening to the residents of St. Philip. Good evening, ministers, members of cabinet. Interestingly enough, Marchfield Village Road has been one that I've been hearing so many comments about for quite a few years. Every Thursday I go to a special meeting and I hear about it. And it finally is on the program to be done. I spoke to Cameron, who's in charge of the area, and he indicated that. Ms. Drayton, I believe the name was mentioned, Highway 5 between Map Hill and 6 Rose. I can't speak to the whole section, but what I'll tell you is that we are very concerned about the section between Map Hill going to Hanson Hill, because that area is quite dark. It is very difficult to walk day and night because of overhanging trees, And especially on mornings when I pass there, I'm very, very uncomfortable passing next to pedestrians. And safety is our first business actually at MTW. So that is a section that we would like to work on. Street lighting is important. The former minister, who's seated right here to my right, and your left, I suspect, had brought in quite a few solar lights, and those are being placed throughout Barbados, and that's something that we can look at. However, I don't know how many are left. So, so that is something that we could look at. Let me see what other areas, if you can prompt me. Roy? Train Road. There's also a road that was mentioned by Ms. Drayton that is, well, Farm Road is actually a road that has been awarded already for construction. I have been reviewing designs for that, and we are in the final stages of the design process, and I expect that within another few weeks we'll be starting on Farm Road. Interestingly enough, BWA has started work out there, and only last week I had to indicate, well, we had to pass on the drawings that we have to BWA to ensure that we have proper communication between MTW and BWA to ensure that there are no conflicts. And once that is done, they can start back. I don't see anything right now from my eye, but others will be looking at it with more discerning eyes over the next few days. Somebody mentioned
the road from the main road coming up from Carrington, going across to Sunbury.
That road is horrible. I am not sure if that's on the program. It's something that we'll look at. I pass on it every now and then when I don't have a choice. But really and truly, my car, I change the shocks every year. I can't, I have to be honest. It is? Thank you. I will check on that to make sure. It is a public road. It's a horrible road. And then there's a train line road as well. I have to check that as well. That's it?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and if I can also help him out, that the road that was mentioned by Mr. Padmore, I believe it is that road that goes through by where Kim does her food, that road has been put on the list. You would notice that we put a temporary fix there, and that is only temporary. It now has to be done more permanently. There is also the road that was mentioned by, well, I won't repeat Farm Road, as you know, that is already on the cards and the contract has been given. There is the Marchfield Village Road, the one that goes around by Japos as well. That has also been placed on the list. You will notice that the road at Brayton, number 1, that comes all the way from directly opposite the playing field and goes all the way around until you come into the corner. That road has actually started, and in fact, significant work is done in that area. And a number of other roads. I won't give you the full list now, but I certainly can if you want me to. I really want to thank Ms. Exwick for the additional information that she provided. What really helps us is also if, in addition to calling in directly to the government agencies, that the constituents also call into our office. Please come to me after. I will give you all of the information that you need if you don't already have it. And you would recognize then that what we do is we put the full list together, which is submitted to MTW, and that way we are able to track, as opposed to one person calling. We don't know who called for what. So what we do is we compile the full list and we submit it comprehensively. So thank you so much for bringing some of those to our attention, and we appreciate the fact that you have been patient with us as Barbados continues to do the myriad numbers of roads that we have to do across the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Attorney General.
Good night, St. Philip. Just address some of the concerns by the first speaker. She indicated that she's concerned about the deviant youth, some of whom have backstories that people don't necessarily know, and that the government needs to have a program to try to understand where they're coming from and help them. So you'll be pleased to know we do a lot of background checking on the young people who are in this system. But about to be rolled out, the legislation is coming in the shortest possible time. The program has been developed. It's a diversion program that's being handled by the Barbados Defense Force. So it will identify those children who are not yet in conflict with the law. So we have a lot of programs that deal with children who come into conflict with the law. This one is aimed at identifying children who might be heading in the wrong direction but haven't gotten there yet. It's going to allow certain stakeholders, I think the Chief Education Officer, Director Sear, to identify children for a residential program that's being managed by the BDF. So you're going to come out, you're going to go into a residential program, you can be taught civic, citizenship, certain vocational skills, you do your schoolwork as well. You try to get the parents' consent for the release of the child. A parent can consent for the child to go in. If it is a case where the parent is not consenting, but they really believe that this child needs to be diverted into a structured program, then the official can make the application to the court. It's a brand new program, but it is aimed at exactly what you said, recognizing people who have a backstory, recognizing people who are not yet in the system and who have not run afoul of the law, and trying to catch them and help them and steer them in a direction so they don't ever come into conflict with the law. So I'm glad you raised that, because we're actively doing that, and that's a program that's going to be rolled out very, very, very shortly. Now, the other thing you mentioned in relation to the prison, so just by explanation, you said there's that area in front of the prison that you think should be planted. That area is specifically not planted. The prison is largely self-sufficient in most of its crops and its proteins. So people will not know because you can't see. But the prison has a sheep farm, the prison has a thriving chicken farm, and they've now built 2 extra large chicken pens. They actually have fish farming in the prison, they have rabbit farming. So the prison is largely self-sufficient in its proteins especially, and also its ground provisions and veg. You won't know that because you can't see it. The area that you see there at the front of the prison is a buffer area. That is right next to the road. You can't have inmates work in that area because anybody could pass and throw something over for them. So that area is deliberately not farmed and buffered, but we have adequate, I say we, I'm no longer the minister for that. But the prison has a massive farming program, and the government is putting a lot more into it to develop it further. So that is going on behind the scenes that you can't see, but I'm glad you raised it so it can give you some level of comfort where that is concerned. With respect to what you raised in relation to certain historical sites and other places of interest, I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. I have a particular affinity for that lighthouse, Ragged Point Lighthouse. I think it is one of the most beautiful sites in Barbados. When you go on the protruding and you look and you can see the cliffs and the scenery on the left, the other stuff on the right. Interesting. You all streaming this? I once had planned the most romantic picnic there, and I came and I put on the blanket and I had the wine and food and everything, and all was going well until somebody got bitten by a centipede. Right? But it was so beautiful, it inspired me to actually do something special in that area. So I agree with you entirely. A lot of We do focus on the botanical, we do focus on Harrison Cave, we do focus on the East Coast, but there are so many other areas in Barbados that can be developed relatively easily, and you raise that point, I guarantee you I'm going to push that point as well on your behalf, but also because I'm very interested in it, and I think we need to provide other options for people to chill out and enjoy themselves. So I am with you 100% on that, so I undertake to push that one on your behalf. All right, thank you.
Education.
Mr. Blackman.
All right, good evening, everybody. Certainly good to be here. So I walked in at the point when the issue, for example, of the breakfast program in the Ministry of Education Transformation was being discussed. So I want to, at the onset, really say that this is a program not just out of need. There's a fundamental reason why it is being rolled out, and I want to give the public and certainly the residents and citizens of St. Philip the assurance as to the why. When I became minister in this ministry last year, and of course the data was also there by my predecessors, one of the things that became very, very, very clear and a stark reality, having toured a number of our primary schools across the country, at around 9:30, 10, sometimes even 11, students who are in class, there to, of course, receive their education, a lot of them will have their head on the desks. And when I approach them or their teacher and ask, what's the issue with the child? Is the child sick? 9 out of 10 times, on average, the issue was the child is hungry. Now, a number of schools, not all, have been partnering with private sector, churches, and philanthropic arm of our country in being able to provide breakfast for children. But we've made a determination that if we're going to ensure that education transformation is meaningful for people, we can build all the schools, we can train all the teachers, we can provide all the best technology. But if a child is hungry, it cannot learn. We already have, of course, have the school meals program, as we all know, at the lunchtime. But to ask a child to wait to have a meal to receive their education until 12 o'clock, it is not fair on them. But it's not just about providing breakfast, it's also about providing the nutrition. And the science has shown once you can have a meal that will, in the morning, before you start school, it will allow for you to be able to benefit. And that is really the fundamental reason why we are doing it. This is a serious moment in time for us in our country. There are also a number of children, as we may know, that is the only time they will have a meal, these school meals, at lunchtime. And we're not doing it on a piecemeal basis or on the recommendation of a teacher, but across the board to ensure that similarly, that currently exists at the lunchtime level, that every child in this country can have breakfast. So coming from September, I want to repeat, this September, we will ensure that for the first time, in a formal way, across the board, that children, this also benefits the parents because it will allow for them to know, yes, I get my child ready to go to school, but when that child goes to school to receive their education, they have a meal in their stomach. But in addition to that, we're working, of course, also with persons in the public who have already done this. So I also want to use this occasion to commend those who have been working from a philanthropic point of view to help in meeting that need. And therefore, the ministry will be meeting with a number, 42 or 43 of those entities, churches, groups within the next 2 days to be able to now finalize the arrangement. Because why? You don't want to kill the spirit of philanthropy that exists. So having the rollout program is not to exclude anybody, but to ensure that we can coordinate where possible. You also raised the issue of money would be better spent if it were done to improve the schools. I want to give you and the public the assurance that that is what we're doing. One, in terms of infrastructure. As you look around, this school included, and I've said it before, our school infrastructure in Barbados is between 50 to 200 years old. So it is not just about refurbishment, it's also about ensuring that the schools are modernized for a number of reasons. One, yes, physical infrastructure. You have to make sure that schools are fit for purpose for teachers and students to exist and to learn and to work and to thrive. Two, as you know, these also form part of the infrastructure with respect to the climate crisis and natural disasters in the context of hurricanes. So it's serving that role and creating resilient facilities. But 3, and importantly, new modes of education require that our facilities are modernized in the way of how we learn. We grew up in an era, and it still exists up to a certain point, where there is a square classroom with a teacher at the front and students sitting in columns and rows. That form of delivery of teaching education is now a thing that we must move away from based on the science and the data and also global standards. If we are to prepare our students for the world, we have to do it in different ways. And therefore, the infrastructure changes that you're seeing is also to reflect that reality. This summer, there are a number of schools across the country that have been, as you see, being worked on. And the purpose of that is that we've rolled out a very aggressive and deliberate strategy to make sure that we can now put these schools into a position that are modern, fit for purpose, and that would allow for our teachers. But we're not going to rest there. This year, we took a decision to close a number of schools after the common entrance to be able to go in and to do some heavy lifting and to really fix those schools. Because why is that important? Students and teachers must be able to do all that they want to do in a space that is modern and fit for purpose. And a number of schools are being rolled out. But outside of that, teachers are being trained. The technology and infrastructure from on that side is coming in to play. And at the secondary level, for example, I've given the boards last year and this year a very clear instruction that their school improvement plans must ensure how do you and your board, working with the principal and management of the school, ensure that your school is the #1 school in Barbados. If and when that school understands, which they do when you meet with them, that they have a duty to make sure that that school is the best, what happens across the board, we improve the quality of education in the country. It will take a deliberate effort, and we're committed to doing so. Why? We cannot believe that school is simply about just learning and getting certificates. It's about preparing our people for the world. And I want to give the good people of St. Philip, with my father being a Braden man, so I'm also speaking as a descendant of this parish, to give you the assurance that the Ministry of Education is doing what it is doing, not just to improve education and to transform it, but also helping us to prepare for the future development of Barbados. And we will leave no stone unturned in ensuring that we can meet that objective.
Thank you, Minister Blackman. We're going to move on. Andrea Drayton. Oh, she did already. Teddy Leon.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Deputy Prime Minister, Attorney General, ministers, member of the panel, everyone in attendance online and in person. My name is Teddy Leon, and I am the founder of EduConnect. I believe that one of the opportunities before Barbados is to move from simply adopting technology and to begin intentionally building digital infrastructure that is built for Barbados by Barbadians. Across many sectors, there are local innovators that are building solutions that understand our unique challenges. It could be in public service, education, health, etc. And the question is, how do we create pathways for these solutions to move from ideas and pilots into systems that can benefit the entire country? One example is our startup called EduConnect, which is a homegrown platform designed to improve communication between schools and families while reducing the administrative burdens on educators and creating a more connected and education ecosystem. So pretty much what the app does, it allows the school to connect with parents in real time. You press a button, the app will connect to one parent, one class, one school, or the entire island, just one press of a button. The phone is going to pick up the phone, call you whether or not you have data, you're going to receive the message. And as we deconstructed and reconstructed through our pilots at several schools across the island, we have seen opportunities to transform processes that typically took days. We're doing them in as little as 2 hours, right? And this is allowing educators to focus more time on what really truly matters, which is the students, instead of administrative tasks. So my idea is that Barbados should explore a stronger partnership model between government and local innovators, where promising solutions can be protected, tested, refined, and scaled to solve national problems. So as we discuss being craftsmen of our fate, I believe part of shaping our future is ensuring that Barbadians are not only users of technology, but also creators of the systems that will define our future. Thank you very much.
Mr. Leon, don't run. You have two former ministers of education and the current Minister of Education Transformation. Are any of them aware of your app and its engagement?
Oh yes, Minister Blackman is aware of it. I think he's quite thrilled and impressed by what we've been able to produce as a local technology company, and he's a strong advocate for the app.
So I don't need to tell you then to make a formal presentation in writing for the authorities. They are aware.
Yeah, they are aware.
So you don't need to do that.
Yeah, we are discussion stages, yes.
Just want to be sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Interesting. Francis Eiffel.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, good evening, Deputy PM, members of Cabinet, my MP, Dr. Brown, and fellow Philippines. Even though I'm not an original Philippine, I am now. I actually originated in the land of Sir Gary, the Bialan. I'm an original Bialan boy. But now I'm here in St. Philip, and I'm in Sanford, and I'm a farmer now. In a previous life, I was an engineer. In another place I will not name. Anyway, one of the big problems that we have in Sanford for the farmers, water. Water is a major problem. The Sanford irrigation system is woefully inadequate. And I've spoken on the matter before. I've raised a possible solution. I know the Honorable Prime Minister has spoken about plans for the tertiary treatment plant to be built and all the pipe work and everything to bring irrigation water to St. Philip. But as far as I'm aware, there's no timeline. I have no idea. I don't think any of the farmers in the area know when that will happen, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen right away. But we have to do something right now because lives and livelihoods are at stake. If you depend on farming, like I do now, to pay the mortgage, pay the land tax and so forth, then you need to have proper irrigation. I mean, I have not been able to farm anything meaningful for since March.
Mr. Eiffel, forgive me.
Sure.
Let's follow the model for tonight. And I'm not trying to cut you down or anything like that. No. So what I'm suggesting to you is let us know what it is you would like to see.
I am coming to that,
so
sir.
that we can.
Mr. Morris, I am coming to that. I am coming to that. What we need right now is a short-term solution, because the long-term solution can't help us. Right? And one of the problems with farmers is resources. What we need to be able to do is harvest rainwater. Not a lot of rain, understood, but whatever little bit we can harvest would be of great help. But of course, you need to store it. And what I have proposed, I've raised this before, is that the government, through the BADMC rebate system, assists farmers in acquiring storage and the mechanism really to get the water from your roof or wherever into your storage area. Now, the usual model with the rebate system is that you spend the money up front and then you, several months before you can get a situation where you know what the farmers need. You know the importance of agriculture to Barbados. Let us put the money up front, give the rebates up front, so it will help the farmer, because it's a lot easier to pay half of something than have to pay the whole of something and then get back half. If you can get the money up front to help you with the storage and the guttering and whatever else, pumps, whatever else, to get it going, that will put us in a better position so that we can actually do real farming and contribute to moving this economy forward. So that is my suggestion. I made this suggestion before, but I have not heard anything back. If people have taken it as a good idea, something that we should look at, but I think it is something that we must look at.
Forgive me for interrupting you again, because it is an interesting point and it is an important point. So rather than having a monologue, I think we are at the point where we can have an exchange. The new CEO of the Water Authority is here. I'm not sure how much that will fall under his jurisdiction. The former minister is here. And, pardon?
Former Minister
of Agriculture, correct. And therefore, he must have some background, because I have heard some of this before being raised.
Yeah.
In terms of what can be done, certainly the question of assistance up front as opposed to rebate would appear on the surface to make sense. So, Minister?
Well, on that particular topic, merely, I mean, the resources I don't have, I was not as fortunate as some people in my former career who got a good handout, that they had resources to do things. I wish somehow I could get some of that, but I am still hoping and praying.
Keep your fingers
Keep your fingers crossed. But I have one other thing to raise with the farming again, because after you've gotten over the issue of all the water and stuff like that, when you actually get to grow stuff, then what you face are gluts 1 minute, scarcity another minute. So sometimes you get a good crop, but then you have nowhere to sell it because everybody got the same thing. Many years ago, there was extension officers used to come around and actually ask farmers what they were growing. We got all this technology now and stuff like that, and all these apps and everything. And I think that, we should know what the country needs, who can produce what, in what quantities, when, so that we can avoid these situations where we have these gluts and scarcities. Make a more even playing field and make it better for everybody. Farmers can make money, persons can get the vegetables and everything at a good price throughout the year. And I think that all it needs is the proper logistics. I don't see a lot of extension officers around now coming out to farmers like they do before. If it is a manpower issue, then you may be able to get the help of some of the farmers themselves to help coordinate, find out who's doing what, who has what capability and stuff like that.
Isn't there, again, from your perspective as a farmer, isn't there, or do you see any prospects for a digital solution? I know extension officers have multiple services that they offer to farmers, but in terms of being able to capture what is planted, when it will be available for harvest, and coordinating that, can't that be a digital solution?
Yes, it can be. And I think I heard there was some work towards that with the new Minister of Agriculture, but I haven't seen it in action. But the data is there, and it can be put in some kind of forum that people know exactly what can be done, what is needed, when it is needed, so we don't basically be, spinning top in mud. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Weir.
Good evening, everyone. Those of you who have journeyed to St. Philip, let me welcome all of you to St. Philip. Those of you from St. Philip, I'm happy you came out. Thank you for coming and giving your support. I feel always draw me out. I know I'm no longer the Minister of Agriculture, but when he spoke at the last Ideas Forum, I gave him the assurance that what he was proposing would be supported, and I am sure that the new Minister of Agriculture will give him that support, because a lot of what is taking place right now basically is a continuation. You know that government is a continuum. It's a continuation of a lot of things that are taking place in agriculture. There will be variations, obviously, but at the end of the day, the end result should be the same, and that is food security. Having said that, I can agree with you that there should be some front loading of the rebates so that you can proceed to do your own water harvesting. It's a very good idea, one that I would strongly recommend be taken on board, so that rather than ask the government to build out dams to do the water harvesting, farmers in Sanford can do the water harvesting by capturing the water from the roofs. And I do not think it is an unreasonable request to ask for the rebates to be front-loaded. The rebates are actually given to the ministry every financial year. So there is just a question of policy and how they can be utilized. I also will strongly suggest that you take advantage of the farmers' growing contracts that are available through the BADMC. And the new minister has already announced this, that they are doing a contract program with farmers. So if you have not heard about it, or if you're not aware of it, I would strongly suggest that you go to the BADMC and make sure you can grow for them. The problem that we've always had prior to this administration is with farmers growing the same thing all at the same time. And this contract growing program is to help farmers to grow specific crops within a mix of crops that have been identified by the ministry. The minister did speak to 16 crops that she has identified, which is taking the program forward from where it has always been. And therefore, a contract can be arranged between you and the BADMC to grow for their pack house. We have a pack house at Groves here in St. Philip, and farmers have been growing for that pack house. You go in, you get a contract in place. And what is beautiful about it is that the BADMC actually gives the support to the farmers in terms of the inputs. And coming out of that, then they would subtract the cost of the inputs from your harvest. And between you and them, you come up with a price so that they have the price that is suitable for us to drive the cost of living down using agriculture as one of the methods. And I'm pleased to tell you that the new minister is continuing that program, and you should take advantage of it. So that is already there. If you didn't know, you know now. And equally, those who are listening and following online, I want to reiterate the point that there are growing contracts with the BADMC for the BADMC Pack House. And of course, I will leave it up to the new minister to speak to the expansion of contracts as she builds out the sector and we get to exports. The thing about extension officers, I agree with Roy. A lot of information can be submitted now online. There are WhatsApp groups within farming communities. So a lot of information can actually be shared with the ministry and the BADMC. And there is an extension officer assigned to River and Sanford. So the fact that you're saying you don't know your extension officer would mean that we will want to flag that to make sure that you get a visit. And I strongly suggest also that if you're not part of one of the group chats that we have either at River or across St. Philip, that the BADMC would use the opportunity to get you added to one of the group chats as well. So, I mean, I want to thank you, Eiffel, as I did last time, for coming out and sharing your ideas with us. A lot of things that you've mentioned, most of them are already happening. and it is for the policy directive to do the front loading of the rebates so that you can get that and do your own water harvesting. I wish to tell you that the BADMC purchased a whole lot of tanks that were given to farmers as well. And if that can be a solution, you can also look at how you can get some of those tanks on your farm so that you can continue with your irrigation system. I hope I've answered your concerns.
Thank you. We're going to move on in the interest of time. Sherwin Greenwich. He's going to speak about providing a recreational area in Jamswick.
Good evening, Deputy PM, members of Cabinet, people of St. Philip. I live in Jamswick, and unfortunately, I have some youngsters who are currently residing outdoors, very talented individuals, who previously would have used a field to hone their skills in football and cricket. Also, we have some senior persons like myself, some in the audience here, who try to keep active on evenings and morning, but have to compete with traffic as they walk around the Jamswick area. My proposal is for the use of a piece of land which currently resides in Jamswick, which was used previously, and I'm told for over 25 years they've been trying to get this piece of property to have a recreational center on it. My proposal is for the Jamswick Community Recreation and Wellness Center. This would allow for a pavilion, a proper playing field, also an indoor or outdoor gym, and a walking or jogging track. This would allow those young persons who are talented, who some of them have lost the opportunity to represent Barbados, but so we have some youngsters now currently with talent who will seize the opportunity to be able to have a recreational center available to them. It also provides an opportunity for youth development, where young persons can now come together as a group and have a meeting place where they can meet. It also provides an opportunity as a disaster resource center. Often, unfortunately, we will need to share, and some they have areas where we want to, especially with hurricanes, and recently we had in St. Philip, and especially in Jamswick, where we had some houses damaged, where you see the opportunity where you can relate and share information to those individuals. So my proposal is that hopefully we can get what have been asked for. My MP has been asking for this for over, I think, 2018, when we had our town hall meeting in Jamswick. Persons brought that to his attention, and repeatedly, and when this forum came up, only 2 days ago I was reminded, as one of the advocates for Jamswick area, what about the community center, what about the playing field at Jamswick? Gem Stars, and we have Jim Brown here, who is one of the persons who've been with Gem Stars for over 20 years. Gem Stars Cricket Club, Netball Club, Football Club, utilize that field for a period of time. Is no longer available to them. So we have young persons who are talented, who need opportunities. I'm hopeful that this can come from the drawers and be placed on the table for the Ministry of Sports. I know when I asked the MP repeatedly, he have told me he have had discussions with successive ministers of housing because the land needs to be acquired, and also successive ministers of sports. So hopefully we can get it budgeted. I know this year has passed, but probably next year, so we can have a start for the Jamswick Recreation and Community Center so that the young persons can have a place to hone their skills, and the older persons like me can have a place where we can walk in peace. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to call on I think the name is Elim Hart.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alan Hart. I'm from Churchville, St. Philip, and I'm from Ghanaland. And the the junction by the St. Philip Parish Church, it really needs looking at, and it's causing too much accidents from the time I born, and this is 26 years. As Michael will know, and where I live, the road is really bad, and Michael will know, very, very terrible, even Miss Brown and Mr. Indar. So it's very, very terrible, and it really needs looking at. Thank you.
Thank you. But I know the junction you're speaking about by the church. It can be fairly dangerous, and I think we really need to look at it. Quite a few accidents. I pass an accident there almost every week. We're going to move on to Shirley McLean.
Go sit down. I have to sit down. Good night. Honorable PM, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, all other MPs, moderator, panel, good night, everybody. It's with great pleasure and pain that I'm here in the heart of St. Philip, the parish I so dearly love, to shake and expunge upon you some ideas and solutions that we have for St. Philip. Now, everything that is written on this book is on my phone, but it's on purpose that I have it in this book. Because I don't know who knows, but when you write something on paper, with pen to paper, it is more easily acceptable to your brain cells than typing it on a phone. And just in case that the electricity was off, how could I go on my phone? So it was purposefully done. Good, get that out of the way. I have 3 important topics tonight. 2 will be short, but 1 will be very prolonged. Not very prolonged as in the whole night, but very prolonged because it's very dear to me. The first one is Oldbury Woods. Oldbury Woods is right out in Gimswick, right there by Gimswick. I think it can be better served if basic amenities are put in, and probably a couple kiosks put in so that a couple businessmen or business ladies, women, whatever, can operate and make $1, because it is in a very specific area between the airport and the Crane Hotel and Samron's Castle, so it's strategically placed. And that's all I have to say about that. Fobe, as the MP for St. Philip South has been trying, and he's made some very good progress. We want to re-establish the atmosphere and aura that Fobe Beach had. When I was a young boy,
Actually, the whole of Barbados used to clamor to get to Foul Bay for a picnic. That's not anymore, because over the period of time it has been decayed. But as I just said, the Honorable MP for St. Philip South, Mr. Indar Weir, is doing some very good work up there. And that's all for that too. 2A, because remember I said I had 3 points. So 2 has an A in it. The A in that, my name is Shirley McLean, but I operate as Jim Brown Promotions. And what I do as Jim Brown Promotions, I do a lot of give back, especially to my community, Gimswick. That's where I live. Gimswick, St. Philip. That's where I live. I have been receiving some contracts from government, so any blessing deserves a blessing in return. So my blessing in return is to give back to my community. I cleaned up my whole community along with the church in Nazarene. And what I'm about to embark upon is setting up a charity, and the charity's name will be Patsy. And that is very specific because my mother's name was Patsy. I said it. Patsy means perseverance, always transfer success in you. Patsy. And that's what my charity will be named. And that's for that. Now we get on to the point that's so dear to me, and that's why I'm here tonight. I'm here in pain because I'm actually in pain, but I'm here also in pleasure to know that I can bring this topic to a forum that will finally be heard and understood at a higher level. The pastor in Gimswick has been there before I was born. And I must salute, I give my condolences to the late right excellent Sir Garfield Sobers, who, I don't know, a lot of you might not even know, played cricket on this said pastor. This said pastor, Gimswick playing field. Right? And he traveled from the BLN, all in BLN, and them times as a little boy and come up there and play cricket. So he was honing his skills all the time. And that transformed into the new generation and paved the way for Kaishona and Kaisia Knight to play cricket for the women's West Indies team. Just by knowing that and admiring that. Now, this playing field, as I said, was there before I born, but it was there before I born, but it's still actually kind of the same way. Now, I'm a very young man, 55 years of age, but 34 to 35 years of my life, I, Shirley McLean, have been trying my best, B-E-S-T, best, to have this pastor brought up to standard. And not only up to standard, but to have a pavilion there so that in times, because it can also be used as a resource center, because that's what all the pavilions probably can do, use for at this time. And from one administration to the next, because you know 34 years is a long time, so one administration can never be running things all that time. So from one administration to the next, one administration to the next, one sports minister to the next, at the Sports Council, one to the next. I don't know if anybody in here knows a man named Roy Thompson. He's probably not there anymore. He's probably not there anymore. But this name is very significant because he was one of the chief technical officers. And me and him met at Gameswick Pastor over 27 years ago with plans for the pastor, the whole pastor done mark out. But yet, 27 years after, same position. Same position. Now, we had a club running years ago when I was a little boy. Harvey Tull and LB, all of them used to run this club. Now, you know, people get big, so all of them went overseas, some of them went overseas, some of them had children, do other things in life. So I was watching on and telling myself, I like what's going on here. So I pick up the mantle and I form Gym Stars Sports and Cultural Club. Right? And we were doing stuff. We had a football team, we had a cricket team, we had a netball team. The girls fell off, so we had cricket and netball. And over the period of time, so many things happened, so many things happened, so many things happened. But yet still, the right thing has not happened. The right thing has not happened. And why? I don't know why. I've been hearing this or that or that. I don't know. All I can say is what I see. I'm not privy to that information. What I'm privy to is what I see. Nothing is happening. So I'm here tonight with a burning desire in my soul to know or to want to know when or if this field can be upgraded or will be upgraded, and can we please have a pavilion? Can we please? We have a lot of people, as Sherwin had mentioned before, walking in the neighborhood on mornings and evening too. But it would be more safer if they can walk on the pasture. Because last week, 2 German Shepherd dogs got away. So you know all the workers had to disperse. Yeah. Right? I have to speak about this. That was probably 2014. So 2015, I got so fed up about everything. Because the police was called for me. You know why? I blocked the pastor from charging because the pastor, and the police was called for me. I wasn't selling drugs, you know. I killed the boy, you know. The police was called for me. I blocked the pastor. And you know when the police come, when the police told the people that called them for me, do you see a car driving across Berlin pastor? You stop driving because the pastor, the man is not doing anything wrong. And still yet, nothing happened. When something can happen, I want to know. And I don't want to know for me, because I can't play cricket any longer. I can't play football any longer. I can watch. I have grandchildren now. So it's for them that I'm here with this burning desire. And it's burning me so much. It's burning me so much.
Okay,
I am pain.
I can tell you're passionate about it.
Mr. Sesson, I love you so bad.
I can tell you're very passionate about it.
Listen to me carefully. I love you so bad, right?
But
when you say to Barbados, you could build the biggest banks or the fanciest highway, but what if the people getting worse every day? I felt that in me. I felt that in me. Just like how I felt feeling this in me. Something need to be done, Mr. Manager. Mr. Moderator.
I'm going to ask Mr. Weir. Mr. Weir.
Mr. Weir he's doing whatever he can.
Representative to speak to it and a few other things. But
I need to say something else.
Okay.
I need to say something else. 2014. 2015, 16. Right? Hey, Shirley McLean, Jim Brown. I met, at that time, the opposition leader. And we had a couple of discussions. I think Inaria was not even the candidate yet. I don't think he was the candidate yet, but he was, all we was together. And we had this discussion. That pastor should be utilized for recreational purposes.
Okay.
That is 2015 or 16. The government was won in 2018. This is 2026. Can we have something done, please?
Okay, Mr. McLean. We'll definitely get Mr. Weir to speak to it. Are you finished?
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. I'm not. I'm far from. Like I said, the pastor could be used as a safe zone for the walkers, right? For the walkers. But really and truly, we were using the pastor, right? And where the pastor is, it got broken down in 3 sections. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. Phase 1 got bought. Phase 2 got bought. Phase 3, which is the pastor that we used to play sports on, is still there. But it's only there because I, Shirley McLean, got 75 people or more to come together. When the last administration was in power, and the member of parliament for the area at that time, the lands belonged to Massey.
All right, Mr. McLean.
We need to wrap up.
Mr. McLean, Mr.
Yes,
McLean.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we appreciate.
What time is that?
Hold on. We recognize the passion. We appreciate what you want to achieve, but it doesn't make sense talking about it over and over again. Let's give the MP a chance now to explain, and then we can move on from there.
Can I say one more thing before we go?
If you can say it within 2 minutes.
2 minutes? That's
2
a lot of
minutes.
time. That's a lot of time for me. Okay, so I had Gemstar Sports and Cultural Club. We had a football team, okay? So then after when they called the police for me, everything, right? So then I got real, like I had to let go because it was gain to me. So I let go. But here now, when I let go, what happened? Here now, when I let go, what happened? Four of the boys that used to play football with me, all now indulged on gun charges. Now, if that had continued, maybe, I don't know, maybe it would still be so, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a strong point. That's a very strong point.
So,
Thank
I'm
you.
over now?
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's a very strong point. Thank you for your contribution. Mr. Weir, if you could speak to it.
Jim Brown, I want to thank you. I feel your passion. I know of what you speak. I've been on the ground with you, and let me make it clear that I am first and foremost the Member of Parliament for St. Philip South over and above anything else. So if a matter pertaining to St. Philip South comes up, and I have to be brutally honest about it, I will be. I am pleased to note that I did meet, first of all, with the Minister of Housing, who at the time was Dr. William Duguid. And we spoke about the acquisition of the land for Jenswick to have the facility placed there. Since then, I also spoke to Minister Dwight Sutherland to make sure that the land is ring-fenced for the sporting complex to go to Jenswick. The Prime Minister, going into the 2018 election campaign, gave her commitment to making sure that what was discussed with Jim Brown can become a reality. But our reality also was that we had to face COVID. And in facing COVID, obviously you know that the government spending had to take on a different posture in order for us to save lives. And that became our priority. Frankly, most of Barbados in any event was shut down. We came back since then, and therefore we brought back up the matter. It is not too late. I am strongly supporting Jim Brown and Sherwin to make sure we have the facility delivered to the people at Jemswick. This also came up in the last election campaign, and I can also give you the assurance that I discussed it with the Prime Minister. I have never been failed by the Prime Minister, in all honesty, and not because she's here, because she knows me well enough. I've never been failed by her, and I know if she gave me her word, she's not doing so lightly, because if she wasn't going to do it, she would look me straight in my face and tell me in the most robust way why she's not doing it. So I am confident it will be done. It's a question of timing, it's a question of how it will be delivered. That does not take away from the fact that I strongly feel Jim Brown's passion, and I strongly support how he feels about it. The youngsters, when I canvassed the area, also reminded me that they needed to make sure they have that facility delivered to them. I think the timing is right now. I spoke to Minister Griffith about doing it, and he gave me the assurance, but we've gone past now talking. And I want to give Jim Brown and Sherwin, all the constituents of Jemswick and the people of St. Philip in general, the assurance that I stand by my word, and you would see me deliver on my promise to you in getting you the facility there with the pavilion and the lights. Prime Minister is here. And I want to do the same thing for you as I did at Victoria and Foul Bay. I wouldn't be surprised if the people at Victoria and Foul Bay hear me now and will want to also submit their ideas to the PMO. But we have gotten some progress at Victoria and Foul Bay. We actually have the floodlights there, and we are awaiting the pavilion. All these I have raised with the current Minister of Sport, and he has given me the assurance that he will deal with them. What is important to me is what the people have been asking for. They've been asking for the walking tracks. When we met with the constituents in Ruby Park, they asked for that. When we met with the constituents at Jemswick, they asked for that. When we met with the constituents of Foul Bay at Victoria, they asked for that. So clearly people are health conscious in the constituency. And they also asked for the community gyms. You may drive around Barbados, so if you go to the gymnasium, you see those little gyms that people go on. That was a big part of the request that came from constituents. So I'm confident. I'm pleased to note that Jim Brown came and spoke. I'm pleased to note Sherwin came and spoke. Not prompted by me, and I'm glad that they have been able to express their desire to have these things delivered. They will be delivered, I give you that assurance. As for Old Barry Woods is not owned by the government. Old Barry Woods is privately owned. I have spoken to the owner. I wouldn't call the name now. And that owner has given me the assurance that there's a willingness on their part to make sure that we can utilize the Old Barry Woods. I use it for my annual children's Christmas party. What I said to the owner is that because there's so many mahogany trees, I would like to convert it into a national mahogany park where you clear the whole area. You designate it as a national mahogany park. You tell the story of the mahogany tree, and then what you do is put in the facilities so that people can do the vending, as Sherlyn rightfully mentioned, because it's a very strategic location. Last Christmas we had it beautified, and people were very happy to see that, and I would like to do that again this year. But there is a conversation going on. I can't say too much more on it because if it is privately owned land, obviously we will have to determine how that is going to be done. Would it be an acquisition of the land? Would it be a partnership with the owners? There are a number of things. And the owner actually said to me that they would also like to turn it into a facility to do a port line on weekends, on Fridays. So that just like Oystins have the fish line, Old Barry Woods can be a port line. And of course, I thought it was a good idea as well. So there are a number of things that we're discussing. Senior Minister Simmons did ask for us to give areas for vending. And of course, I will flag that as one of the areas once we can reach the agreement with the owners. So I'm happy to note that. Jim Brown, you and Gem Stars can stand by, and I will be happy to make sure that everything is done. Foul Bay Beach, we've started the work at Foul Bay Beach. We've given the people at Foul Bay Beach all that we can. But in looking at Foul Bay Beach, even though I've spoken to Nival, who works at BTII, and BTII falls under my ministry, and we're talking about how we can continue that work. But there's one caveat. Foul Bay Beach, the sand by the high water mark, etc. itself may be public, but all of that area is privately owned. And I've discovered that in trying to continue to build out Foul Bay Beach. So we now have to be in some kind of negotiations with the owners of that land to make sure that we can then get the entire facility built out for the people. So in as much as I want to do what I'm being asked to do, there's still some hurdles that I have to get over, and I'm cognizant of the fact that it takes a policy position and it also takes government resources to get us there. So bear with me, I am doing what I can to assist, but I stand here tonight to let you know that we will deliver Gemswick for you. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more person to speak. Joy Sharon, it is.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So my name's Joy. Both my parents Barbadian. My mum was originally from Marchfield and my dad originally from Ebenezer. I came back to Barbados permanently 10 years ago. But have been coming to Barbados since I was about the age of 11, and then every year since then. I love Barbados, and I feel it's my home. So I'm an educator by profession. When I first came back to Barbados 10 years ago, I didn't want to teach anymore. I wanted to pursue a completely different profession before I got... You didn't understand? You know, okay. Okay, thank you. So, shall I start again? Okay, so I'm an educator by profession. When I first came back to Barbados, when I came back to Barbados 10 years ago to live here, I decided I didn't want to teach anymore. But I needed to earn some money, so I thought I'd tutor. And little by little, more and more children were coming to me who couldn't read. And I couldn't understand why that was, because I've always known that Barbados has one of the highest literacy rates in the world. They're in the top 10, as far as I was aware from what was presented. So So I carried on doing what I was doing. I carried on teaching children to read. I had to go back to England in 2019 because my dad had dementia. And before I left, I said, I can't go back with the skills that I have without doing something different. So I trained a group of teachers, and that started my mission here on the ground. And I then went on to train at least 100 teachers on the ground in one of the phonics programs that's now been adopted. So I'm no longer delivering that particular program. As I was delivering it, I realized that there were still some gaps that needed to be filled because the children that were coming to me, they were struggling. So there's evidence out there in research to say that not all children will learn to read and learn to read easily. Some will. About 5 to 10% will learn to read easily. 35% will learn with broad instruction. But the remainder need a specific approach to teach them how to read. And those were the children that were coming to me. So, working with a colleague in the UK, we've developed our own reading and writing program. It's called Reading and Writing Success. So, there's two things I really want to say. The first is that whilst I know that we've moved towards a synthetic phonic approach to teaching reading in primary schools, there are 3 different programs that are being used, and they are discrete programs. They're not designed to be run together. They operate differently. So anyway, that's one thing I want to say. And the other thing is that I've designed and developed a program called Reading and Writing Success. In the last year, I've worked with 16 children. Every single child has made progress. Most have made accelerated progress, and all are reading above their actual reading age. So what I'm saying is that it's one thing to do away with the common entrance, but it's another thing to say that children aren't all being taught in the way that they learn. If you teach the children in the way that they learn, they will learn. But some of them are being discarded because they are not the high flyers, they're not learning automatically. The Reading and Writing Success program caters for children where they're at, and it gets them to where they need to get to. I currently work, this is the last point, I currently work with a student in the mornings, 4 mornings a week. He was 14 when I started working with him. He had a reading age of 6 years and 7 months. He was 14 at the time. In the last assessment that I did with him, he has a reading age of 11 years and 11 months. So that was achieved in 4 terms. I started working with him last Easter. So there are many, many, many students out there. There's the BAB reading clinic that's taking place with 130 boys of secondary school age who are not reading. It's not their faults. We have to be able to adapt the way that we're teaching children how to read, not making them think there's something wrong with them, because there isn't anything wrong with them. They just need to be taught in a specific way, even if they have dyslexia. Okay, many of them do, the ones that come to me, but they are still learning. I've had children who have made 2 years progress, 2 years, 9 months progress, children who are reading 2 years above their reading age. My youngest student, who started with me when she was 4, she's 7 now, and she's got a reading age of a 9-year-old. And I'm not saying that it's me, I just know how to teach a child how to read. So yeah, Reading and Writing Success is definitely the way to go. All my parents want to continue working with me next year, even though I put my prices up, because I've had to. But they all want to continue working with me, and they're really, really happy with their children's progress. They've all given me, most have given me interviews. The majority have given me interviews, which I've posted on social media, because all children deserve the right to learn to read.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. All right. That was it. Yes. Okay. Mr. Blackman.
Thank you for giving me the floor again. One of the things, let me first of all commend you for what you've been able to do and what you're doing. And I certainly would like to meet with you even after we meet there this evening and to invite you to the ministry to see how we work together. You've hit a number of key points. The issue of ensuring that each child has a very tailored approach on being able to read is key. And it cannot be a one-size-fits-all approach. What we're doing in the ministry, we've launched a very aggressive and deliberate program to treat the issue of literacy. Last year, I would have announced in Parliament the idea of ensuring that we can have our children to be able to read at the level of their age by the end of this year. But there's some gaps that we have to close. As you rightly indicated, there are a number of programs that we're doing. But in addition to that, what we've done to start to close those gaps is to now, for the first time, have now in the program on a daily basis, reading time for our children. What we've seen so far is an increase in 40% of the levels of where students were at a year ago, but we can't stop there. Part of it also, too, has to be, as you rightly said, the training of our teachers. So teachers coming, of course, from Erdiston or wherever they're at when they did their teaching training. But historically, we've not had them to be able to focus in on helping children to read in the way that they are. And that is something that we're actively now doing. So the idea for us is to ensure that not just that they can read, but how do you now comprehend what you're reading? And using also creative ways to ensure that the students can be able to capture what they're doing. And I'm excited that you're doing it. And the question is, how can we now help you to help us to do it at scale? So I would more than welcome you, not just here at our ministry, so you can meet with the pedagogical side of the ministry to help us to now do this and to also lend support across the country. And this is really what I'm happy about this forum, that there's talent out there, there's resources out there. The Prime Minister would always talk about the diaspora being able to help us to also meet some of our national objectives. And this is a very tangible way of doing that. So I look forward to meeting with you outside.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Minister Blackman. I want to ask the representatives for St. Philip to speak. I'm going to call on Dr. Brown, St. Philip North, to say a few words.
I am not sure if it's age before beauty or beauty before age, but good evening to everyone. Thank you, like everybody said, thank you so much and welcome to St. Philip North. I have to say north, but we'll add east, south and west. I appreciated many of the comments. There's one thing I wanted to comment on. The lady, Miss Eswick, that spoke first. I appreciated her comments greatly, especially when it came to the lighthouse. I must tell you, though, that I was witness to the refurbishment at the lighthouse some time ago. Minister Humphrey actually met me there when we went through the actual lighthouse, and they had refurbished a lot of the old quarters and so on. I actually presented to the minister. I never knew what became of it, but a proposal whereby a friend of mine, she's died now, she was one of the chief archivists at the university, and she had proposed a museum because it's a big thing around the world in terms of lighthouse. There are clubs and studies and everything, and that was one of the proposals. So it did not fall, what you're saying is not falling on deaf ear. I'm not sure what the plans are in terms of the lighthouse at this point, but it is a very decent area to develop. And you're right, we need a little more than the botanical gardens where we have to travel. No. I wanted to make one comment on your comments on the breakfast program. I ran a breakfast program for a little while, and Minister Chad Blackman, I agree with you. We found a lot of children that the problem was not necessarily that they were underprivileged, but many of them got to school too early, parents left home too early, and never managed to have breakfast. So my policy was, once you're hungry, you are fed. The teachers, all the teachers, I knew many of them, but the teachers and the school meals workers always knew who needed and who didn't. So I think incorporation of everybody will run well. The one, and I had reached out to you, Minister Blackman, let me throw you on the bus, you didn't answer me yet. But one of the people that was, I wanted some information on what to tell the individuals that were actually running the program. It was some of the programs. It was a little foggy in terms of the transition. So if we could do some public announcement or something, or contact the schools so that they will really know what the follow-on is. I had another point in my phone, just one more. Give me 1 second. I was respecting you waiting to the end, so I made a note or two. Almost done. Colorectal cancer. I am not intimately in the Ministry of Health now, but there are efforts afoot in terms of colorectal cancer screening. 2 polyclinics are involved. The headache seems to be the follow-up. When you do have, you found the patient, for instance, with a high suspicion of colorectal cancer, the problem is the follow-up. The hospital, I believe, is working on that now. I'm not seeing the health people, but the Prime Minister knows everything, so she might be able to tell you. But there are issues, there are things afoot in planning. There's a policy, I believe, if it's not there, it will be there in terms of screening. The problem with us, as you know, is generally the cost, but it's more cost effective to treat, catch early, screen, right, than to treat somebody. But you're absolutely correct, that's one of the things we are fighting for. There was conversation around the roads. Not many people got to St. Philip North, but I want to get to St. Philip North. Minister Humphrey? Supers. I am surprised that members of Supers are not here. We have a can. The most honorable can tell you there's a can that takes almost a third of the road. I got close, I got really close because in the last time we were in, when we got plans to fix the road. So I apologize to you, Stetson. Plans were made, the road was cleared, we had a diversion, and then everything came to a stop. So if we could have a look at that, I am sure the members of Fortescue and Supers and College Savannah would be grateful. So I will remind you about it. And the last thing I wanted to comment on, and I can't remember if who it falls onto. In terms, somebody brought up the hurricanes, but very briefly. I think St. Philip needs another, especially North, another Category 1 shelter. The only one at some point, I don't know if plans are in place, but it was Hilda Skeen. So there are parts of St. Philip that, in a case like that, is difficult to travel. I know it's for when the emergency and stuff, but it's difficult to travel, and I think we need to choose another one a little closer to individuals where they can reach. That's about all I had to comment on, but all in all, I think it was a good session. I really appreciate and I'm grateful for your comments and contributions, and I hope, and I have faith that we will make very good use of some of them. I'm interested in having a conversation with you, though. Thank you, and if I don't get to talk again, good night. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I just want to add one thing to the St. Philip North position with regards to roads. Where I live in Fortescue, of course, we have a lot of houses now, a lot of people living in Fortescue. There's only one road in and out of Fortescue. If there's an emergency, we have to swim.
I think...
There is a road right next to me.
Yeah.
That goes through by the Baptist College. Mm-hmm. I think that we need to look at how we can make that work for the people of Fortescue.
Agreed. That's probably the best choice. Agricultural Road, I've been in discussions with, at some point, MTW with it. So your word might add to mine and the other members. So that's an option. And the other option, we drove it the other day, and it really would need a lot of work. It would be from concept out to City Hall, but that's a good option. I have driven it several times, so I know it's a possibility. So we'll work on it. At least I will ask for the minister to have a look. You want to
come? Minister Humphrey.
Sorry, I wasn't planning on intervening, but I can't end on that note. I have a list of roads that are to be repaired, but I should also say that my permanent secretary lives around Fortescue, and that came up as one of the roads that we will definitely be doing, because roads are about safety and preserving life, and if there's only one way in and one way out, then obviously we put people at risk. And the instruction that I gave was that we have to make sure we do that there, but to identify in major communities where that is the reality to be able to address it. So I could say with absolute certainty that we are going to address the entrance there to Fortescue. Very quickly, the other roads at Supers, because I know that came up before I came here. I have a list of roads to be done. We have the monies to do these roads. And the first road on my list is actually Supers. And that should be started, all things being equal, Dave, this year. We have the number of roads: Stewart Hill, Culpeper Development, Bottom Bay, Contact. These are roads for which we have the resources to do. So this is not me bluffing you. Ocean City Main, Foul Bay, Beach Road, Harmony Lodge, Atlantic Ridge, Halton to Ebenezer, Marchfield Village. And then there were some major roads, what we call the CAF roads. We're going to do Woodburn Development and St. Patrick's to Charnox. So those are roads that are due to be started very soon. We have, in most cases, we have designs for the road. There are a few where we're waiting on designs. But St. Philip can rest assured that those roads will be dealt with in the very near future. And I just wanted to say that. Thank you. The junction that was raised at Church Village, so I turned to my team, and they're very aware of so they showed me exactly what the junction looks like. The issue, obviously, is that people approach that particular junction at speed they can't see. I saw that there's some trees which we can clear. We can also widen that junction. We can put some lights. So we're going to make sure we prioritize that particular junction as well. As I said, roads are not only about moving people, they're really about safety. So that is an issue for us. But I just saw the actual junction. So we're going to rectify that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can smile. I can smile. I want to call on Ms. McConney to say a few words.
Thank you very much, and thank everyone who came out tonight. I think we heard a lot of civic pride here with people who came up with ideas in which we can do better things in our communities. We've heard some community-minded people with their charities and the other work that they're continuing to do. And I'm happy to say that there's some people that I see around here with whom we're already collaborating in being able to do some work in the communities. I just want to say continue to keep the ideas coming, continue to reach out individually, and I certainly look forward to continuing to work with you. Two ideas that came up and both related to Six Rows and writing the story of Six Rows and Marchfield and the area. That is something that has excited me. You have seen, of course, Six Rows, the investment that not only the private sector is making here in Six Rows, but that the government is also making with the new civic center that is coming above there, which will have the police and the fire and the post office and the, and the magistrate's court, a whole civic center that is coming. You've seen ground is right there already broken just before you get to the Catholic Church going up there. And you see the SIA agency, which has already been here. You've seen the refurbishment to the library. So, and there is coming some refurbishment to the polyclinic, etc. So indeed, we see Six Rows growing. I am totally in agreement with it being called the town in a significant way, and I do believe that there is an important story of important people and the role that Six Rows has played in the development of Barbados. So that's certainly something that I'd be happy to get on board with and be happy to speak with those persons interested in moving that forward. Have a good evening.
Mr. Weir.
Thank you. Good night again to everyone. A couple of things came up that I'd like to make sure that I address so that all of you leave here with certainty. Because oftentimes when things are said, other things are forgotten. We spoke earlier about the traffic congestion at 6 Roads at the roundabout and the bottleneck that is created there. Senior Minister Humphrey had a traffic management meeting here in this exact school hall earlier this year, and that was discussed. A number of things were then opined, using, of course, what Betty Lynn mentioned and someone else also mentioned, using the road by Armagh to cut off traffic going all the way up to 6 Roads so that people who are going to Church Village and to Padmore Village, etc., can turn there and go. That cuts off the traffic going to the roundabout at 6 Roads. And then, of course, using the road that goes across by the Water Authority to cut off traffic that will have to go to 6 Roads and then turn and go down to St. Patrick's or to Foursquare. So those have been discussed. Senior Minister Humphrey is aware of what was recommended then at that traffic management meeting. And one of the other things that came up is how do you address the gas station and the fast food restaurant in 6 Roads? And of course, there's another one coming. And I then suggested that it is not just simply a case of switching roads. You have to do a number of things. And one will be to sit with the owners of the fast food restaurants and, of course, the ones who have the franchise for the gas stations to look at their service models. Because if your service model isn't working, of course, the drive-through window is not going to work. And you must determine what exactly is a drive-through. A drive-through cannot be a place where you build up traffic. It says drive-through. So that if you're driving through, there must be a point where you're going to place your order, get out before you get to the window. You now have to look at the signboard to see what it is you're going to order, etc. All those things have to be worked upon. That cannot happen by serendipity. And so therefore there must be a meeting with the owners of the fast food restaurants to determine how they're going to look at the service models they're using in order to deliver a drive-through, a rail drive-through. I remember when I used to go to New York frequently, I went to McDonald's. And the way the lady took my order, I almost thought that she was going to ask me to leave the line. Because if I didn't know what I wanted, then she didn't have the patience nor the time for me to delay her. I then thought to myself, she's using something like balance scorecard, etc. One of those models that tells you must only spend X amount of time in dispatching a customer. And we have to be able to have that conversation with them. If we don't, then we're going to have the problem repeat itself. And it's not just about roads. It is about a combination of things to address the issues. And that, to my mind, is one. Gas stations, too. You can't have cars pile up, one person managing 4 pumps. That has to be addressed. And we are at the stage now when I went to Florida frequently as well, because I don't travel as much as before. I was driving a group from Miami to Orlando, and we had to top up. And when I pulled in, there was no attendant. So I had to learn right there on the spot how to punch in the amount of gasoline that I wanted and pay for it, and then have it pumped into the vehicle. All on the spot. And I think that we have reached a stage in Barbados where people are using technology to the extent we have to start looking at things that will work so that the call cannot only just be on government and about roads and traffic congestion, but the call has to be on what is causing it and how can we address it in a holistic manner. So I want to place that on the table. I also want to agree with the person who raised the issue of street lights. And PM is here, I'm sure she's going to speak. She always says to us in Barbados is dark. Barbados is too dark. And so therefore, we had a presentation at Cabinet that dealt with how we can look at the new types of lighting, street lights that can give us more coverage in a space to brighten up the country and help illuminate the streets. I think added to that really will be some cat eyes. Now if I'm driving from Union in my constituency and I want to turn into Union Development, I can't find the gap at night because the street lights are too dull and then there are no cat eyes. So oftentimes I find myself having to slow down or drive past. Now if we had the cat eyes, we will be able to see when we are about to turn off a main artery into a development or onto a side road. And therefore, I think this is something that we really need to place some emphasis on in order for us to be able to address some of the traffic issues as well and to help people to move in a seamless way. The issue with streetlights also came about from Pussem Bridge. I think at one Ideas Forum that came up, Cami Holder did raise it, and it's one that I would strongly recommend we address. Pussem Bridge is somewhere between St. Philip West and St. John. That needs to be addressed. And of course, if you're traveling from Caveland and St. Philip to Beulah Junction, from Caveland right across, there's no street lights. The whole place is pitch black, and you have people, in particular females, getting off the bus either at Beulah or at Caveland area to walk across there to Sandy Hill. That is one that has also been flagged and should be illuminated. And then, of course, from 6 Rows, using Sterling Road all the way up to Beulah. And I've already submitted these to the previous minister who had responsibility for public transport. And therefore, I have every confidence that the new minister who hit the road running, figuratively and literally, will make sure that these are addressed. I've already addressed some of the other ideas that were offered. Generally speaking, a St. Philip Ideas Forum is one where people come out prepared, and I've heard the preparation tonight, and I want to commend all of you for coming out and lending your voice to this conversation. It's always good, St. Philip, to hear you, to see you, and to feel you, and I'm pleased with the turnout we have here tonight, and I'm also happy to note that all of you came not to complain, but to offer ideas, and this is a big thing in Barbados. We need to move away from the whole lot of complaining and come and tell us as a government what it is that you voted for us to do. And that I heard tonight, and I'm pleased to note that all of you have come and participated. Give us your numbers, and I want to thank all of you sincerely. Mark, you live in my constituency, and you came up on my chat with the constituents. I will sit down and have a further talk with you. So thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I also want to say thanks to the people of St. Philip for their contribution. As a man from St. Philip, I have a contribution that I really should make too, but I'm going to give that directly to the Prime Minister when I'm ready. It's on a broader scale. It's about the legacy of cricket. I'm not convinced that we have been able to commoditize the legacy of cricket in order to be able to fully monetize it. I believe that we are the greatest cricketing nation in the world, and I'm not sure that we have actually capitalized on that in terms of using it as something that can promote this country and move this country forward. I think the whole Kensington area has to be looked at. I believe that the tanks, that those tanks, for argument's sake, can be muralized. I think they're looking pretty ugly. We need to speak to whoever owns those tanks and do something about them. I believe that the road that leads from what was the Lower Green bus stand all the way down to Kensington should be renamed Cricket Walk. I believe that the history of cricket should be all over that space. When you go to Lord's, from the time you get off the train in St. John's Woods, you feel as if you're in a place that is special. We can do that with Kensington Oval. I believe that we need to use this powerful legacy of our cricket as something to promote Barbados. And I am not sure that we have been able to fully monetize it. We have cricket legends, yes, but I think we can do more. Even the shops around there should be called cricket names. I just feel that we can do a lot more. but I'll speak directly to the Prime Minister about it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Mayor Amor Maltby.
Thank you very much, Stetson. You gave me the bridge for cricket, and I'll take it, because up to yesterday, in the commentary on ESPN, I made clear and reminded the public that we have for some time, and Minister Cattle knows this because she has been the other advocate for it with me, advocated that we have a Cricket Legends Hotel, and that Kensington Oval, and right where central purchasing is, right on the water, is the ideal place for that to happen. But this is not a government project, because if I take up government money to go and spend there, then I don't have government money to go and spend on laying water mains. This is a project where we are encouraging the private sector, local and regional, and we've started having discussions with regional private sector, and I believe Minister Gudinegel, your chairman of the port, and others are now fully convinced, because they have bought the lassie on the other side of the road from central purchasing, and the government already owns the land. For those who are grey enough in here like me and Tibbs to know that Manning's Lumberyard that used to be on the other side, so between where government owns and where the port is just bought, we can effectively take all of that land, divert the road to between the nation and the same Manning's Lumberyard, and come out just below the Legends. So you create the same ecosystem and environment bag that you have just spoken about, and that allows us then, instead of trying to fit a hotel in that small space between where the road is and the shallow draft, that we can then add the 10 or 15 acres, I can't remember how much it is, Ian, but that exists there. And even there are stadia in the US and elsewhere that have rooms at the top of the stadia that look into the grounds, and we have a unique opportunity that we can look into the grounds and look where it's Antia, over the sea. So that you have a coastal thing, and then of course you have Brandon's Beach. So while you do not have a beach right there, like Harbor Club in St. Lucia, you are right on the water, and then you can move people in tutus to Brandon's Beach for the beach facilities for those who want a little more than just the shallow draft, getting on the boats to be able to go out. So suffice it to say that with Sir Gary's death, obviously, topics cricket will be even more pertinent and passionate for Bajans. I'm a little late this evening because obviously I was being briefed by those with respect to the state funeral, and official announcements will be made, I think, tomorrow afternoon by Senator Cummins. So I'll leave that for her. On the matters St. Philip now, roads continue to be a major issue in this parish, but it is a major issue throughout the country. And we have been working assiduously to be able to address roads and bridges over the last few years, and will continue to do so. Part of the difficulty, and I've addressed this in St. Philip already, is that St. Philip has a lot of housing developments like Fortescue and out by Foul Bay and Long Bay, all these places where people go and put in developments and never put in proper roads or proper services. And 30, 40 years later, who has been left to carry the bill? The government of Barbados. Who carry the profits? You understand? And that is the wickedness of what has been perpetrated in the name of private housing development. And we've said that it can't continue. Town planning has to be careful to ensure that certificates of compliance truly reflect compliance and not the shoddy way in which things were done previously in the name of housing development. With respect to traffic, it is a major problem in 6 roads. We've heard you. I heard Indar talking about the gas stations and the fast foods, because all the lines doing what? Snaking out onto the main road, which means that that is what is blocking. And the Ministry of Public Works, we said it in the election, has to find a way of being able to diffuse the traffic in the heart of 6 roads, but conscious too that you're likely to have some increase in activity because we're moving District C where? You understand? And in addition to District C, what else is coming? A civic center. Well, I don't know about that. I know about the civic center. But you understand the point? And then on the other side of the road, you have what? Sterling and the village for senior citizens, as well as the ones for adult disabled. What you are beginning to see is the government building out 6 roads as a true mini town, ensuring that the civic services, the court, the fire service, the police, the social empowerment agency, SEA, all of those things are here so that the people of St. Philip and surrounding areas, the eastern parts of Christchurch even, and the southern parts of St. John, and the southern parts of St. George, don't have to go to town if they don't want to go to town, to be able to diffuse the pressure on Bridgetown as well. And we are very clear about that. Sonia, I know that you have spoken, and we are also very clear that the upgrade that has to be done on the polyclinics and the district clinics, remember the Saudi loan which we have, is going to help us, separate from the construction of 2 new polyclinics, with the upgrading of the additional polyclinics. And we have to start using technology more. We started using it at the hospital with the teleradiology, and all of the backlog that they had that runs from here to Bridgetown and back, all of a sudden it down to so. So we have to be able to infuse the system with innovative changes that can make a difference to the quality of people's lives. I have made a public commitment. It is not going to happen this year because we're spending over $15 million. I don't have the exact amount on the Civic Center with the police, Michael and Wilfred, but we are spending money on that Civic Center with the police and fire service, etc. We need to get that out of the way. Sonia, I gave you a commitment, and Indar and Kay, that we will have a proper amphitheater, auditorium type facility for the people of St. Philip. That will happen in this term, God willing. And God willing that there are no further natural disasters that will take us off track. Because as you know, we have had our fair share. And when Indar spoke about COVID, people speak about it glibly. But COVID was another $1 billion in public expenditure adjustment because of the reduction in revenue and the increased expenditure running from the hospital right back through to the National Insurance Scheme for all those people who hadn't had any kind of benefits, that if we left them on the side of the road because they didn't have contributions or they didn't pay, what would have happened? Then with Beryl, same thing again. What happened? So we've had to find money to spend on critical areas of disasters that when we settled the estimates at the beginning of the year, there was no consideration of these events. In this year of our Lord, we came to you for an election in February. But when we came to you, what happened after? A war. There was no war in Iran when we came to the country in February. There is now a war. And the one that we thought was finished has started back. And the bombing for another 9 days now, or 8 or 9 days. So I just give you this. And the reason why I support strongly these parish engagements is because it allows us to speak with people directly and to respond to your concerns directly. And that is why, as tired as all of us may be on a Monday evening, we're here because this is part and parcel of how we strengthen our democracy. With respect to the issue of agricultural produce, and I spoke about elements of it, but it goes further. We are working hard to remove the concept of scarcity and glut. Why? Because in a world where technology exists, where you have agro-processing and blast freezing and all of these things, and where food and water are the new oil, That's what people are going to be fighting over. That's what people are going to be struggling to be able to have dominance over. Then we need not only to be producing here, but in the same, anybody in here knows how small the Netherlands are as a country in Europe? Small. How much people it got? 17 million people. But the Netherlands is the second largest exporter of food globally. I didn't say in Europe. And Barbados has an advantage that most do not have. And that advantage is in logistics. This winter, Ian, you will have 35 flights a week to London. Not true? There is no direct flight from Panama to London. We take for granted what we have and what is our competitive advantage. Similarly, you now have a daily flight to Panama, not true? So all of a sudden, what is produced in Latin America, which is produced at a fraction of what is produced in the North Atlantic countries, can be made immediately available to us because the mechanisms for handling the logistics are within our reach. I've spoken incessantly about Guyana, Suriname, northwestern Brazil, and Venezuela. The bottom line is it is up to us now to make agro-processing our business in the same way that we made tourism our business. And what we produce, I've given Cabinet a formula, what we produce here at maximum, and we have a lot more to go to get to maximum, should be no more than 20% of what we export as agro-processing. Because in order for you to be a dominant player in the market, you're going to have to aggregate and to bring in more with what you have. And in order for you to be able to benefit with the rules of origin and all of the other rules for international trade, you have to do your value added here. So today, my last meeting before the meeting on the state funeral was with BIDC and the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Industry. Because the export pack house, you hear Indar talk about a pack house at Groves. You had one at Spencer's too? Or that shut down by the airport? That's the World Food Program Zone. So you have two. But we do not have an export pack house, and that is an unacceptable state of affairs for this country. And I said to them that that must be in place because there are people who want to be able to import. But unless we start grading our produce, both for domestic use and export use, it can't be just business as usual. And then if we take our produce, we've got some people who got some lovely looking cabbages. They look so good. People say, well, that got come from over. I'm from right here in St. George. So what I mean, that unless we start labeling as well, Bajan produce or whatever farmed in Barbados, something, and the government needs, therefore, we will print the stickers and give to the farmers, but we need to also encourage our people to buy what first? And when you buy local first, what are you really doing? You're buying something that is not coming over the waters, that is not doing. Who wants to eat stale vegetables and stale fruit? And when you go, a lot of this fruit that they got about here, when you taste it here, what it tastes like. And when you go and taste it from the places where it grows, what it tastes like. Two different things. You see, avocados come from overseas. Whenever taste it, it could come anywhere close to a Bajan pear. All right, therefore, I done. Case closed. So you understand the point I'm making. And I've said to Indar before and Chantal now, that the notion, and to Marsha, the notion of us only doing open field agriculture is not going to work. Because in a climate smart way, we're going to have also to be able, one, to be able to protect it, but two, because Barbados has limited land space, we're going to have to be able to maximize the vertical agriculture in the same way that Japan and others have had to do over the years. And it is not beyond us. Our relationship with agriculture cannot be defined by the plantation model. It has to be defined by the infusion of technology, by the infusion of capital, and by the passion of young people taking it and managing it, so that all of the bitter memories are cast one side, and the reality of us being able to produce at levels that allow it to be a constituent part of a major agro-processing export industry can be there. This is what the government is working towards methodically. But changing a culture does not happen overnight. And therefore, you find yourself repeating the same thing over and over in the public sector as well, don't get me wrong, as well as the private sector. And that is where we are going. So there are opportunities there. I am hopeful that we will finally get a major program off the ground for honey, because if it never gets sold, and 50 years from now, they come and find the honey there, it is still what? Good as if it was bought yesterday or farmed yesterday. And therefore, Barbados has to be able to maximize the potential. And a lot of the younger people who have not yet found themselves with skills, but who are prepared and don't want to work for somebody, can in fact become the beneficiaries of contract buying with respect to harvesting. And we have discussed this. We need to make it happen now and to do the training. So I share these things because Minister of Agriculture is not here, and I felt I needed to be able to reinforce that. Sonia, you raised the question of the colorectal screening. I know that the Ministry of Health is looking at it. They have not signed off, and I suspect that they are in a position now where they're trying to settle the numbers, both in terms of the cost, the individual unit cost, and then the range. And why do I believe is important? I ain't gonna fool you. How old Malcolm Marshall was when he died? You think he would have died if he had the screening and they did the surgery? I won't be standing here probably. Because if I don't do a colonoscopy every 2 to 3 years, the doctors tell me come every 3 years, I go every 2. If you don't find, Sonia, the polyps, if you find the polyps and remove them, you do what? Minimize. Doctors tell me don't ever use the word extinguish, but you minimize the chance of cancer to almost zero. Not true? And therefore, the simple ability to get people in this country to test at all levels, whether it is women and men with breast cancer, whether it is prostate cancer, whether it is colorectal, those are the main ones that we need to ensure that Bajans, because if you get in early, you do what? Give yourself a credible chance of recovery and full life again. So we hear you. We're working with it. When we were last here last year, the big issue related to sugar and the drinks. Remember the Heart and Diabetes, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, and the others came and they brought their things with the sugar. You remember? Yeah. Exactly. So, and we're continuing to work in that direction. The manifesto speaks also of us being able to investigate the use of some of these drugs to fight obesity. We are looking to see and doing the cost-benefit analysis now, because at the end of the day, while they may appear to be expensive up front, if they can bring people out of the danger zone, it is much cheaper than the other medicine we will have to give them if they're in the danger zone, or if they have to do an amputation, or if they have to do dialysis, or if they have to do any of the other things. And therefore, we just want to be certain, first from a medical perspective, and then the cost-benefit analysis, to be able to make sure that the people who are facing the most difficult circumstances in terms of their medical condition can be the beneficiaries of some of the improvements in medical and pharmaceutical offerings that the country has, so that we are not going to end up being penny wise and pound foolish, but we will be strategic in our deployment of resources to be able to help people help themselves and to save lives. So I want to thank every time we come to St. Philip in July, it is because people like Bag and Matt Fingal, and John King, and Mr. Kellogg's of blessed memory, all of them made it a notion of all Bajans that July belongs to St. Philip because of crop over. But I must say that somehow that responsibility, especially as it comes to say, suffice it to say that I want to invite you, especially as there is all of this talk I see on social media recently about whether we are losing the art form and whether we are losing what has to happen. And I'll leave with this last comment. A lot of the music that's finding itself into the mainstream crop over now is really mainstream music for all year round. Carnivals are driven predominantly by what?
Music.
No. Not just music. You could go and play disco music in a carnival. There's only one song that ever won the Road March in Trinidad that is not a calypso. Anybody know what it is? Nobody don't know? I really getting old. Valerie, Valerie, da 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 da. I can't sing, so you know we're gonna find it. You know which one I mean? Only one song. And we have to be careful of protecting that aspect of the art form. The youngsters are doing some brilliant innovations, but those innovations do not have to lock themselves into crop over alone. And many of them, I'm told by my young minister, are receiving a lot of forward outside of Barbados. And therefore, they do not have to rely only on crop over. But we need in crop over to keep a space for everyone. So even if they're coming in crop over, the radio DJs must play music. Must play music. And they must play music that is for all of Barbados and not just a handful of people. I asked people, I had to go on Spotify to hear the majority of music out for crop over this year. Explain why that should happen. Instead of the top, Santi, how many songs you hear on crop over on the radio? That's my point. So that bottom line, you tell me Edwin got a song out.
Only one thing on my mind, I'm looking for a good time. I promise myself a real good line. Oh, the question them asking me, why I back in the party? Just mind your business and let me speak. So when you see me smiling, don't come and mess with me. I'll go way down to the morning. Sweet soca calling me. The music reflecting the world. I'm feeling it, the whole atmosphere feels so good. I'm feeling it, I come to distress like I should.
I come to distress like I should. That's my anthem. But the point is, how many people in here have heard it? How many people in this room have heard it? You belong to the industry, or you may even help write it. How many, honestly, how many people in here have heard? I want the Minister of Culture in my office to see. How many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alison is saying back up. You'd expect to do it. You also was a previous director of the NCF. You're supposed to know about it. Other than the 2 people in here who are associated with the industry, I'm left with 2 or 3 others. Marsha used to dance. Alicia, I don't know how come you hear about it, but I know you all about the place like Punka. You understand the point I'm making? We are 2 weeks away from Kadooment. 2 weeks away. And the song didn't come out yesterday or last week. We have a problem. And CBC is government-owned, and CBC must make space for all genres of calypso during crop over. And it is not to be determined only by a DJ. The DJ has a lot of influence. But we have to be able to respect the fact that people invest their money, they go and do recordings, and that it cannot be only one genre of music playing during crop over. How much ever young people drive the energy of the festival, the money is also still contributed to by older people and other people. So I really do hope that, that you and others can also make a stand to make sure that we can do it. A lot of the youngsters who are coming now, in my view, are making music that can go in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, miss out a month. You get the point. You get the point. And that is why reggae was always able to move quicker than calypso, because reggae spoke to a culture and to a reflection on a state of affairs that is all year round. But calypso is driven primarily by what? Carnival and festival. Okay? And the fact is, you could really have calypso all year round, but the only other time bag putting out calypso is for Christmas. Maisie. You understand what I'm saying? And even then, how many calypsos you have at Christmas that you've made? One. Just one in over 30 years. So what does that tell us? We know that this festival that is ours is special because it has made a niche for itself. Does it need refreshing? Yes, it does. But it is special. Do we now have a platform for music that is all year round? Yes, we do. But don't let our all year music sacrifice and push aside that which has built this festival for the last 40 years. Because I still remember the days when before Mr. Hardin and before them early days, you could not. Crop over started in the early 70s. Why did it flounder until the early 80s? Because there was no music. Why did Elombe insist on recording every tent and getting the music out there on radio? Because it is the music that drives the festival. And if we lose the art of calypso, or we lose the art of soca, as we also know, we're going to affect the festival. So we need to keep that, but also give the youngsters and the fellas a clear pathway. So you still have reggae with dancehall. The two of them push up one another. So that is the last thing I will say, and I say it in the parish that gave us 40 years of momentum in calypso music, and I say it in the month when calypso reaches its zenith, just before the jump up in the first Monday of August. So thank you all for coming out, and thank you for the ideas. Jim Brown, we heard you. You don't have to remind us, but as Indar said, this has been a hard road to trod. And the things that we set out to do have been impacted by things that we never dreamt would come our way. We knew we had a debt problem at the beginning. We fixed it. But within 18 months, COVID come and lick us down again. Then the ash fall. Then Elsa. Then Beryl. Then the war. So that you can't look at the new CEO of the Barbados Water Authority and tell him when he needs to get water mains to everybody that are functioning, that we don't have money for him, because he takes priority over almost everything else with respect to the function of the country. Security, health, public health, environmental health, those are the things that protect life first, and then we come down with everything else, all right? But as you can see, we will continue to push and spend, and therefore the sporting activities for us are important. I forgot, St. Philip is getting the track, and it is getting the Olympic-sized pool as well. Sports Council already has the money for that, and I believe, Marcia, you did the visit for me, just outside of Bushy Park, to ensure that where the track and the pool are going will not prohibit us from extending the track at Bushy Park, so that these fellas that are racing on the road on a Sunday evening and whenever else can be given a safe and legitimate place to race, rather than being a risk to themselves and others by racing on public roads. And similarly with the motorcycles and the other drag racing. So we believe that we can create a sports complex in that area, and that is without prejudice to the auditorium that I promise you for cultural activity. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful crop over and a safe crop over.
Thank you, Prime Minister Motley. Thank you for that big push for crop over. Of course. Next stop is St. Andrew for the next Ideas Forum, so you can listen up for that. To you, the people of St. Philip, thank you for coming out. I think we had a good evening, lots of ideas, and I look forward to seeing you at crop over events. Come out, support crop over. It's his wee thing. Thank you very much.